Hi everyone, I'm Shelley and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. Last week, someone sent me a very interesting article on Twitter regarding preschool, and I decided that I was going to open it and read it because I have commented on preschool pretty often here on my channel and also on my blog, which I don't really write so much of my blog. It's just more of me sharing my videos here, but I used to write full out articles on my blog. And here's one in which I entitled it, How to Homeschool Preschool and Is It Even Necessary? And over here in, I think it was this one actually, The Truth About Pre-K, I discussed how pre-K is not necessary at all and how I had read a study showing that children by third grade who attended pre-K, even though they started out looking like they were ahead of those who had not attended pre-K, by third grade, there was no difference, and they actually had more behavioral problems if they attended pre-K. So I'll leave a link to both of these, to the blog post and to this video here in the description box. But I wanted to see what this article had to say about all of this, because you know that preschool is being pushed and pushed and pushed all the time, especially with Biden's push for universal pre-K. That's all you heard about for a while. And all you hear about is early literacy and early childhood education. And so let's see what this study has to say. And you know what? It's on NPR, and I have to say that I usually don't agree with things that I read on NPR. I do agree with this one though. So let's see. I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm just going to read bits and pieces of it, and then I might comment on it here and there because, yeah, again, I feel like I have been vindicated because a lot of times when I say things like pre-K or preschool are not even necessary, and in fact, they can be detrimental to a child's learning. A lot of times I will have, especially early childhood educators, come back at me and tell me how wrong I am. So let's see what this says. A top researcher says it's time to rethink our entire approach to preschool, which, if you ask me, we don't even need a new approach to preschool. We just don't need preschool to begin with. But anyway, with that being said, I don't know if I'm going to say this right. Dale Ferran has been studying early childhood education for half a century, yet her most recent scientific publication has made her question everything she thought she knew. Okay, I'll say it. I can't believe that it took that long, half a century. But moving on. It really has required a lot of soul searching, a lot of reading of the literature to try to think of what were plausible reasons that might account for this. And by this, she means the outcome of a study that lasted more than a decade. It included 2,990 low-income children in Tennessee who applied to free public pre-kindergarten programs. Some were admitted by lottery and the others were rejected, creating the closest thing you can get in the real world to a randomized controlled trial, the gold standard in showing causality in science. Ferran and her co-authors at Vanderbilt University followed both groups of children all the way through sixth grade. At the end of their first year, the kids who went to pre-K scored higher on school readiness, as expected. And that's actually what I talked about in my other video, was how at the beginning, the children who attended pre-K were more advanced. They did know more things than the children who did not attend pre-K. Let's continue. But after third grade, and here we go again, third grade, that is the exact time that the other study pointed out that they started showing disparities, and not in a way that you would expect. But after third grade, they were doing worse than the control group. Now, I have to say the study that I shared, it said that you couldn't tell the difference between those who did attend preschool and those who didn't. So by third grade, no difference at all. But in this case, they were actually doing worse than the control group. And at the end of sixth grade, they were doing even worse. They had lower test scores, were more likely to be in special education, and were more likely to get into trouble in school, including serious trouble like suspensions. And that is something else that I mentioned in my other video, was that the study said that by third grade, children who were in preschool had more behavioral issues. And so this study really does seem to back that up. And in fact, it shows that it's worse than they thought it was. Whereas in third grade, we saw negative effects on one of the three state achievement tests. In sixth grade, we saw it on all three, math, science, and reading. in third grade, where we had seen effects on one type of suspension, which is minor violations. By sixth grade, we're seeing it on both types of suspensions, both major and minor. That's right, a statewide public pre-K program taught by licensed teachers housed in public schools had a measurable and statistically significant negative effect on the children in this study. Ferran hadn't expected it. She didn't like it, but her study design was unusually strong, so she couldn't easily explain it away. Now, what I have to say is right away, I can tell you that children who are 3 and 4 years old, even a little older than them, they are not developmentally ready for sit-down learning. At the age of 3 and 4, a child's work is play. A child learns through play. And if you put these expectations on these very young children that they are going to perform school in the exact same manner that even older children have an issue with, I don't see how it's so difficult to understand that it's going to be harmful to these kids. What you are doing is you are taking away precious time that they could be learning by exploration, exploratory learning on their own. And you are just trying to cram things into their head, so that I honestly think just so that they are ready to go into the government education system, so that they've already got a head start, they know how things work. And this to me is an education. And if you would read in the rest of the article, I'll read a little bit more of it, but not all of it. But a lot of it boils down to it's childcare. That's what it is it's childcare. And instead of just letting it be a daycare setting where children can play all day, they're making it look like a school, and it is not working. So, and it does mention here that it's a bad time for early childhood advocates to get bad news about public pre-K, but this isn't the first time that people have said this. I'm glad that this is getting some traction, but this isn't the first time. This has been said over and over again. And, it says federally funded universal pre-kindergarten for 3 and 4-year-olds has been a cornerstone of the president's social agenda. And we know this. I talked about this in another video, so that's nothing new either. I did skip ahead a little bit in the article. I'll leave a link to this article also in the description box because it is a fairly long article, so I'm not going to read the entire thing, just some highlights, because again, I feel like I have to reiterate that I talked about this like 2 years ago and probably even earlier than that on my blog. But anyway, one of the biases that I hadn't examined in myself is the idea that poor children need a different sort of preparation from children of higher income families. She's talking about drilling kids on basic skills, worksheets for tracing letters and numbers, a teacher giving 10-minute lectures to a whole class of 25 kids who are expected to sit on their hands and listen, only 5 of whom may be paying any attention. And this is why I have to jump in here. This is why even when it comes to homeschooling, a lot of times so many parents, they're so excited about starting homeschooling that their child will be 1 or 2 years old and they already want to start gathering curriculum and start planning for doing preschool with their children. But really what I want to say to you as someone who has been homeschooling for 13 years now, and I graduated, 3 of my 4 oldest children all graduated from homeschool. I have another homeschooler graduating this year. And what I can tell you is that preschool is not necessary even in a homeschool. Just let your child play. That is all that they need to do. Bring lots of interesting stuff into your house. Art supplies, Play-Doh, Legos, board games. Make your house interesting for your child. Give them lots of opportunities. Take them outside, go for walks, go to parks. Just take them out and about with you. They don't need preschool. This has all just been kind of placed into our heads by everything that we see around us about early childhood education. And I know how exciting it is to think about homeschooling your child, but in reality, they don't need it. Now, I will say that there are some children who have older siblings who want to be like their older siblings, and they do want to do some work. In that case, I would say, okay, go to the Dollar Tree and get them some things that maybe they can do while their older siblings are doing school. But if they feel like they want to stop and that they're done for the day, don't expect them to continue on, because again, play is what they need to do. Anyway, higher income families are not choosing this kind of preparation, she explains. And why would we assume that we need to train children of lower income families earlier? Ferran points out that families of means tend to choose play-based preschool programs. You see that? Play-based preschool programs with art, movement, music, and nature. Children are asked open-ended questions and they are listened to. Now, what I have to say is that while I think that play-based preschools are certainly a step in the right direction, I'm going to just, children, they don't need to be taught how to play. They don't need adults to show them how to play. They don't need adults to give them ideas on things to do. Just give your children lots of opportunity, lots of time for their imagination. You don't even, I for me, I don't see the point even in a play-based preschool, unless it is because you're using it as a daycare, because your child doesn't need to be taught how to play. They can easily do that at home where they are bonding with their family. And that really is, I think it's an important thing that a lot of parents need to think about. Children need their families. They need time to play. And beyond that, everything else is kind of just being fed into our head by, let's just say a group of people that really don't have our best interests at heart anyway, because, if you've been here before, you know how I feel about that. So I just thought that I would share this article with you. If you want to read the whole thing, you can do that, but that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one either here or over on Instagram. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.